Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Warning: this video will contain spoilers for the 1970 Robert Altman movie MASH. This video may contain discussions and/or images of violence, sexual situations, and drug use. Viewing beyond this point is a choice you have made, and you take responsibility for that choice. Thank you, and please have a nice day.
Hello and welcome to this video. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone is having fun. Today's video is we are going to be talking about the 1970 Robert Altman smash hit MASH, a movie that probably by all logical metrics should not have had the impact on the American zeitgeist that it did. It is loosely based on the 1968 novel by Richard Hooker titled MASH, a novel about three Army doctors. The screenplay was done by Ring Lardner Jr. and was basically immediately thrown out by Robert Altman. The irony of not really the irony, the justice in it is Lardner got the Emmy for Best Script for MASH. Though about 20% of the script was rewritten by Altman and the other 80% was ad-libbed by Altman's encouragement during shooting. This was definitely one of those movies that was just kind of, it was the right movie at the right time, the right place in the American zeitgeist. And to this day, this movie holds a lot of sway. It also launched the careers of, at the time, completely unknown actors and actresses like Donald Sutherland, Elliot Gould, Tom Skerritt, Sally Kellerman, Robert Duvall, just to mention a few. The movie's runtime is, or the original theater runtime is 1 hour 16 minutes, or 116 minutes, just a hair under 2 hours. Yeah, 120 minutes would be 2 hours. 116 minutes is just under, I misspoke earlier when I said 1 hour and 16 minutes. No, it was just shy of 2 hours. The movie got a $3 million budget, which even in late 1960s money, that was not a lot. Its box office brought in $81.6 million, which, that's a, great return on investment. It hit theaters in January of 1970, January 25th to be specific. And was one of those movies that the studio did not back. In fact, there's a lot of the scenes in the OR where they're operating. They're very bloody, very gory. that the studio wanted to cut out, and Altman stuck to his guns and forced it through by convincing them to bring in a test audience. And the test audience loved it, which convinced the studios to leave the scenes in. There's a scene near the end of the movie during a football game that one of the characters, I believe it's Elliot Gould's character, tells the person that they're on the front line, they're lined up, it's just before the snap of the ball, and he uses the word fuck. And the MPAA at that time, because they used that word, tried to give it an X rating. That is just how far we have come in letting artists do what they want to do. How far our censorship has changed. I think it was that and a combination of the shower scene with Sally Ketterman playing Hotlet's Hoodlehan, where you get a flash of her breasts. I mean, you've got to be really hardcore going frame by frame to see her breasts. I think those two things in combination is what led to the MPAA wanting to give it an X rating. Plus, the dentist, Robert Shook, I think, was the actor who played the dentist, Painless, and the constant talking about the size of his penis. That may have had a factor in it too. This movie, Robert Altman was making this movie on the back lot of 20th Century Fox at the same time that Century 20th Fox was making Tora, Tora, Tora and Patton. That's one of the reasons why he got such a small budget for this movie. In fact, there's interviews, you can look up interviews on YouTube with Donald Sutherland talking about it, saying that he was basically at the point where he couldn't pay rent, was looking at getting evicted from his apartment at the point he got offered this job. So, as a lot of the actors and actresses in this movie, like I said, were unknowns, weren't on anybody's radar. And so a lot of the people, a lot of the cast, crew, lived on the back lot while they were filming it. There was not the interviews that I've seen, no one comes out outright says it. But Tom Skerritt kind of, through innuendo and double entendre, suggests that there was a whole lot of casual sex, a whole lot of drug use, and a whole lot of alcohol abuse going on while filming the movie. Like I said, by the time they finished filming it, like I said, they were all living on this back lot. What they were wearing, the clothes they were wearing was their wardrobe. So they were sleeping in it, living on the back lot. They would change into regular clothes if they were going to go into town or something. But for the most part, they stayed there. They stayed in that back lot. And by the time it was done filming, they had become this cohesive group. A lot of them lifelong friends. Not only the actors and actresses, but the grips, the key grips, the people running the cameras, a everybody, just this huge family that everybody was, and if, depending on how you want to interpret the Tom Skerritt's, like I said, a lot of double entendre and a lot of innuendo in his interviews when he discussed the movie. Yeah, they had a kind of a Apocalypse Now situation, and that's part of the problem with that movie, but that's a video we will tackle at another time. But no, they were living a very hedonistic, libertine, bohemian lifestyle while making this movie, which probably paid off in the chemistry you got with your actors and actresses. And Robert Altman took advantage of it. He would just show up randomly and start filming them. There are scenes in there, just kind of like transitional scenes, where Altman just threw the camera up. There was no scheduled filming or anything at that point, or they were filming mainly somewhere else. And he threw a camera over here, just getting these people doing what they're doing, just hanging out in the world. A lot of, from the interviews that I've seen, Sutherland, Gould, Skerritt, and Kellerman, basically, when you see them pop open a beer and drinking it, or if they're drinking a martini, that's not a prop. That's what they're really drinking. They're really consuming alcohol. Scene near the end of the movie where they're playing football, they're actually playing I want to say the San Francisco 49ers. They're playing like their B or C string. And there's a scene where they're passing a joint, or actually they keep cutting to a scene where they're passing a joint down the line. And they're actually smoking a joint. That's not a prop. That's just what they were doing. They were smoking pot. Yeah, it's just one of those movies. Altman brought the movie. It was budgeted for $3 million. Altman brought it in for $2 million. And probably a lot of that had to do with people living on the back lot, and he kept his head down because of the two bigger budget movies. You had Tora 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 and Patton. He was keeping his head down, keeping the status quo, the suits, the financial people out of his business, so he can make the movie. This was a very, very anti-war movie. It was anti-Vietnam. Johnson had got us into Vietnam by the time this movie was made. And you were starting to have the counterculture, the protests against the war. In fact, all the scenes in the movie where you see the South Koreans, the dress they're wearing, the hats they're wearing, all Vietnamese. The studio made Altman go back in at the beginning of the movie where you got the quote from Douglas MacArthur about Korea, and you have the quote from Eisenhower about Korea. The quote, I messed that up really good, didn't I? The quote, the scrolling text, which is a quote from MacArthur about Korea, and the quote from Dwight Eisenhower about Korea are the only references in that whole movie about Korea. Everything else is innuendo. And like I said, all the Asians in there are intentionally garbed in Vietnamese clothing. The movie is full of gallows humor. It is Robert Altman. He's pointing out it's not only anti-war. He's pointing out socioeconomic differences and privileges. There's a line in there about if the person's a officer, use small stitches and get a good real thing. But if they're enlisted, use bigger stitches to save on the amount of stitching material you use because, well, they're enlisted. All through the movie, the movie is just littered with stuff like that. Well, you have the whole anti-war sentiment, that the killing and the murdering, and there's lots of sexual. I mean, this movie is ripe with sexual tension. In fact, there's a scene. I had first watched this movie 1977, 1978 with my father on the couch. We had recently returned from Germany. My father had been stationed in Germany. We had recently returned from Germany. And it was a Saturday afternoon and we were watching it. And there's a scene that I'm going to share with you here in a bit that transpires between Hawkeye and Hot Lips Houlihan. And in which, when you're 7, 8 years old, the context of that scene is completely different than when you go back and you watch the movie in your 15, 16-year-old. We'll go ahead and play the clip now.
And under normal circumstances, you being normally what I would call a very attractive woman, I would have invited you back to share my little bed with me, and you might possibly have come.
Okay, we're back. Like I said, hopefully the copyright algorithm gods don't curse me, but this, when you're 7 or 8 years old, when Hawkeye invites Houlihan, he's going through the whole diatribe about coming back to his thing. For you, it's COME. When you're 15 or 16 years old, it's CUM. And you get that because the look on Kellerman's face. You see that shock, and once you've transitioned into puberty or through puberty. There's no V in puberty. That whole diatribe is just different, and the movie is like that from beginning to end, opening credits, closing credits. This is a movie that I highly, highly recommend to anybody and everybody to watch. Regardless of your political affiliation, religious affiliation, this is just a tour de force in how to make a movie, how to make a good movie on a shoestring budget. Like I said, even in 69 when they were filming, and I think they wrapped in September of 69. But it's just those things you've got to admire. You have to respect it for what it is, and it's a hell of a movie. Like I said, it launched the careers of a lot of people. Hell, it even launched Altman's career. He was known as a mediocre TV guy. He had done episodes of Combat and stuff like that, and he got fired more than he got hired because of his very militant anti-war stance. And yeah, like I said, this movie made household names out of a lot of people. It is more than worth watching, and I highly, highly recommend it. Blu-ray, DVD, streaming, VHS, whatever. So, until next time, people, be a good human, be good to other humans. Peace.